Ohio State and Oregon.
Oregon goes on the road, upsets the Buckeyes. They come to Columbus and knock off the Buckeyes. Now there's video out there that a rubber duck was planted at the Big O there at Ohio Stadium.
We're not sure who put the rubber duck, quack, quack, in the middle of the Big O.
First of all, what happens is your body controls the mind. Your body tells your mind to shut down. And when you shut down, you lose the day. The edge is not going to the edge to say, I'm average, I'm good. I'm good for the day. We got enough elite players. They should be dragging guys to be elite. It doesn't stop being average. It begins to be elite when you can cross the line. Today is that kind of day. You can feel it. You can sense it. That guy said, my body is sore. My mind is hurting. So I'm going to shut down today. We got a chance to do one thing that every team in the country can't do. We got a chance to step up, man. We got a chance to step on the ledge, you know what I mean? And to me, I think it's a free fall. To be elite, you got to take a free fall. That means you can't be afraid to go to the edge. And coach said, jump. He said, how far, coach? Where you want me to go? Every guy got a chance to do that today. If you're elite, grab somebody today. Take it with you. There's no more average in this program. There's no more average in this program. It's a bad word. Not in this program. I can name some program that are average, but not the Ohio State University football team.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Q, I know some programs that are average, but not the Ohio State. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm glad they're not giving that speech out at work. Might be in trouble.
Start running through cubicles, wrecking the entire office, smacking over the company puzzle.
They were average, huh? Well, I just got to look for a new job.
I see our guy Cam Thomas in the chat, 7 a.m. and I am turned. I figured Q would need a little wake me up this morning. It's about 5 out there. And before we get started, got to give a big shout out to our guy Bezo, the first one in the chat. And of course, a shout out to our guy Charles Green. Shout out to the members around here. Q, how are you doing on this fine Thursday morning? I can see the sun out my window, which is like a rarity in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I don't think the sun will be out for a couple more hours, but not too bad. Another early morning. Can't complain. A couple more days until this officially gets my Friday. I'll be off tomorrow, so one more game, then it's game day.
Look at you giving people ideas. Maybe I'll call off tomorrow. Oh, man. But, man, we got plenty to talk about. We have a little bit of national news carrying over from yesterday, and then we will jump right into this game. I know we've talked a lot of national this week, and a lot of people wanted to hear more about the game. So we are going to really dive into this matchup. But first, I want to start with the freshman All-American list. You see Jeremiah Smith on that list. You see a lot of other familiar names, Dylan Stewart, Sammy Brown, Kingston Villamayasa, Xavier Brown. Let's see, what are some other names on there? Jordan Seaton, Ryan Wingo, Ryan Williams, Dylan Raiola. Q, when you look at this list, which one of these former Buckeye targets hurts you the most to see on there?
I mean, there is a lot of them. I probably have to start with Dylan Stewart. I mean, I feel pretty confident in our quarterback future. Defensive end is always a position where you gotta load up, and I think we've been spotlighting him for a while. And then I gotta go, like, if I weigh in second, definitely Kingston Villanueva, who the Lord first told him not to come here. That one's a bit painful. No, he's balling out, but it's good to see that we do have the right targets in the recruiting game. We just got to get them on campus.
Yeah, you stole my exact thought. I was like, well, at least we know our evaluation's pretty decent. They wanted the right guys.
KJ Bolden, a bunch of guys we wanted to come here. So, I mean, but congrats to these guys, Jordan Seaton. They're balling out. Definitely, we've been talking about them for weeks and weeks. So I like that we're keeping track of this. And I guess in a couple more years, it's probably be the All-American list.
Yeah, my next thing in the notes was this 27 draft is going to be insane. The amount of talent that we're seeing around the country from freshmen that aren't even on the list, and then freshmen that haven't even gotten their opportunity.
Yeah, no, 100%. Just unfortunately, some of these guys are not a great team, and that's the thing. I see a lot of teams on here where I'm like, ooh, yeah, it's a little rough over there, so you kind of have to play. But I mean, good for them to get a foot in the door. A lot of kids that we wanted to come through, but the freshman class I think has been holding it down. And when you see two guys in the Heisman, race, it's like, okay, this class got something to them. So you better stack up on that draft picks for in a couple years because you're gonna need them.
I mean, you say some of those logos next to it, next to some of these names look rough. Me, I'm over here like Birdman hand rubbing my hands together because I'm like, hey, we should have a bag for some of these kids. Like, it's not over.
Yeah, you could always say that. I'll probably give it the 2 years. Usually 2 years is like, yeah, we're not winning. Like they sold me on a dream, but it's really not happening. So maybe a couple of guys, these will jump. I'm telling you, I'm throwing in a 20 in for Jordan Seaton after this season.
You heard it. Q got 20 on it. Let me know in the chat if you got 5 on it for Jordan Seaton.
A couple of bucks in there. Let's get this All-American tackle situation.
Shout out to our guy Dylan. He said I'm always selling Q out and throwing him under the bus this morning, telling everyone he's why we're late. Well, the reason why we were late up to 8:07. From 8:07 to 8:10, that was me. I was uploading the intro video.
It mostly has not been me this past week and a half.
Yeah, it's been me. So I had to keep it 100. It's not always cute, but let it be cute. I'm gonna tell you. If you haven't heard from me in the chat blaming Q, it's probably me, the reason why we are late. But we're here, and we got plenty to talk about. So that is enough on the national news. Of the Buckeyes take on probably their toughest opponent on paper, on schedule before the season. So lots to look forward to here. Ryan Day spoke to the media yesterday. A little bit of breaking news. We've mentioned this on the show a few times that we didn't have an answer on whether or not Carnell Tate would be available this Saturday. Ryan Day confirms that Carnell Tate will be back. The Buckeyes, for the most part, have avoided major injuries so far this season in the few injuries that they've dealt with. I mean, they did lose their top left guard for a few games, but they were able to find people to fill in admirably. How big is the return of Carnell Tate for this game?
Oh, I mean, it's massive. Like I said, if you had looked at the starting 3 receivers, you wouldn't say Carnell Tate has necessarily played the worst. You may just say he's got the least opportunities, but when he has, he's made the most of it. We've seen the way he blocks. Definitely in the screen game, he's been vital. So definitely happy to have him back. And you've been calling it for what, 2 weeks now, a Carnell Tate legacy game. So can't have the game if you're not out there. So first day. Best ability is availability. So Carnell Tate is back. I expect these wide receivers to have a really good matchup on Saturday and then come out with the better of it. And Carnell Tate's an important part of that.
I think Carnell Tate will be an important part of that, especially what he brings to the run game. Q, when I say 5'10", is that familiar to you? What does that phrase mean to you?
I don't know. It's usually the time we start the show here.
Well, conveniently, it is the Arizona show start time for the Buckeye Roast, but it's also the same height for every person in the Oregon secondary. I talk about the importance of Carnell Tate's return for this game. I think the Buckeyes' physicality in Zone 6 is going to be crucial with the size of the safeties and corners in this Oregon secondary. Do you think the Buckeyes are going to be able to exploit this size matchup on the outside?
I mean, I definitely will. There's not really too many Jeremiah Smiths walking out there, but one thing Brian Hartline has done in recent years, especially starting to get his guys in is we get size in for the most part. I mean, look at a Brandon Ennis, every now and then. Most everybody that comes to play wide receiver at Ohio State, maybe besides one every class or two, is 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2", and athletic. So, and what's one thing Will Howard can do? Throw a fade ball. So, hey, I don't know about the deep ball, but if he's running a fade, is go up and get it. So, very important here. Allow our guys to make plays down the field, and that's the one advantage you can't coach out of. It's like, well, coach, I'm sorry. He's 6'4", he's 6'3". So, what do you want me to do? So, very important here with this matchup again. And Will Howard, get those fade balls ready because we know you can throw them.
Yeah, we talked about this on Bleacher Report yesterday. The fade ball is going extinct in the NFL because it's being considered an inefficient play, kind of like the mid-range jumper in the NBA. But like, you still see DeMar DeRozan like, hey, may be inefficient for you, not inefficient for me. And then I feel like Jeremiah Smith is the exception to the rule because I think a fade ball is definitely a plus play to Jeremiah Smith, especially if he's one-on-one with a guy that is the same height as someone that works a desk job. So I think the size on the outside is definitely going to be something to keep an eye on this week, especially with the return of Carnell Tate. You brought up Brandon Ennis. He had 3 catches last week and benefited a little bit from Carnell being out. Do you think this is a game where we see a little bit more depth in the receiver room and we see more guys get involved from that room, or do you think it is going to be a top 3 experience from Emeka Egbuka, Jeremiah Smith, and Carnell Tate?
I actually think this is going to maybe answer some questions on how Ohio State plans on using Brandon Ennis going forward. Now, with everybody healthy and Carnell Tate back, I think Brandon Ennis has benefited the last couple of weeks. I think he's got the ball a little bit more. They've tried to get him involved. Saturday, it's all as long as the game continues to be close and it's not a blowout or something, it's going to be all hands on deck. So you're really going to see Chip Kelly and who he's like. He's going to have his little list out and be like, okay, these guys have got to get the ball. So I think we're going to find some things out about Brandon Ennis. I mean, I expect him not to play any less than he's played, but being featured, I don't know if that's at the top of Chip Kelly's playbook, especially with, as we talked about, this offensive line and the running game and how important that's going to be. So I actually think this is going to reveal some questions on how much they value Brandon Ennis and how much they value getting him the ball.
Yeah, I put a chat up there from Key, a duck down in Florida. Just prayers to everyone in Florida and hope this duck finds his way to safety because it's not going to be safe on Saturday. So shout out to our guy Key. He says that Oregon's going to win the ball game. So I hope he's in the chat on Sunday if they lose. So keep an eye out for Key because he is predicting a win. It wouldn't put it on the timeline, but we have it here on the show.
Shout out to Key, man. One of the funniest dudes on the Twitterverse.
So yesterday, Ryan Day spoke to the media and mentioned that Aaron Noland is turning heads on scout team, simulating Dillon Gabriel as a left-handed quarterback. How does it feel to hear that Aaron Noland is still locked in and making the most of his opportunities despite being in a loaded quarterback room?
You love to hear it, man. Aaron Noland was a guy, I mean, not even getting to day one of his college career, rolling here on campus, people started talking about another quarterback, and because he was higher rated, Aaron Noland, he won't play here, he's going to be a backup or he'll be out of here in a couple of years. Aaron Noland will be in the battle next year. I think this is an important year for him. He obviously came in, he had some struggles, and it feels like he's starting to get his stride a little bit. I think when we saw the spring game, we were like, oh, okay, like there is something there. We see why he brought him here. So I think the addition of the other freshman quarterback is kind of cooled things off for Aaron Noland, but it seems like secretly behind closed doors, he's been putting in work. He's been doing what he needs to do. He's got his black stripe off. He's handling business. Bringing here Ryan Day. He's doing a good job for us. He's got a great arm, like all those things. Just want to continue to hear this kid progress and do what he needs to do day for day, and then we'll see how the battle goes going into next season.
Absolutely. Ryan Day's exact quote. He's been over there doing a good job. He's got a great arm. He's athletic. He's been doing a good job for us. So, I mean, to hear Ryan Day at least go out of his way to mention that he's been impressive in practice, it's good to hear because, I mean, it gets lost in the shuffle. All the noise is made about Julian Sain. You have all the debate about Devin Brown as the backup. Lincoln kind of gets lost in the shuffle. And then feels like the forgotten quarterback, and it's good to hear that, you know what I mean, he's making an impact, and it just shows, you know what I mean, it takes every man on this roster to get a dub, and if we do get this win, he was a part of it because he helped prepare this defense for Dillon Gabriel. You see the title of the show, 4 Keys to Victory for Oregon and Ohio State. I listed 4 different things that I feel like are going to be crucial for either one of these teams to win the game. I don't think it's specific to either team. So I think we'll just get started with the 4 things that I have, and then we'll dive into them as we go on. Q, let me know which key you would like to start with. The 4 keys that I have, and let me know if I'm missing something that you would like to add in before we get started, or if I hit the nail on the head with the 4 things that I think are the keys to win this game. The 4 that I have are protect the football, run the football, touchdowns in the red zone, and trenches. Did I forget anything? And if I did, what did I forget?
I mean, you've got the most important thing, SFE. That's the key to all victories. Am I wrong?
No, you are not wrong. Never told a lie.
No, I think that pretty much sums it up. I feel like I'm getting ready for the game. We got a game in a couple of days. Coach Ron is getting us right with his illustrious record on the league online. I guess we start there. Yeah, we talked about protect the ball yesterday. You're going into these big time games. We talked about it last year. Going into the Michigan game, that was really the reason we didn't walk out of there with a victory. Those turnovers really hurt us. And we talked about the offensive line putting hands on people and where we're going to be able to establish the run and let our running backs do their best Genty impersonation. So I think those 2 things are probably the most important. I think touchdown in the red zone speaks for itself. And then you talked about it, trenches, because, I mean, Oregon, you say what they want. They have the personnel.
Absolutely. Our guy, Sean Schrock, said, got to control the trenches. So we will start there. Jordan Burch, 6'6", 290. Ryan Day said that it's hard to simulate him in practice. I mean, they used Aaron Nolan to simulate Dillon Gabriel, but he said you can't really simulate a defensive end that's 6'6", 290 and moves the way that Burch does. Yeah, you can get all your practice reps against JTT and Jack, but they're just not the same player. 5 sacks on the season. Are Ohio State's tackles up to the challenge of Jordan Burch?
I think they are. One shout out to Jordan Burch because he got forgotten a little bit in the mix. I remember him coming out and we talked about him like we talked about Dylan Stewart and Teo and all these guys because he was them just a couple years before. With South Carolina, of course, where talent goes to die, and he was like, you got to get up out of here. So moves over to Oregon, has a really good season last year, and he's back and balling out. But as far as our tackles go, I mean, Josh Fryer, I've given him a lot of slack, but I give credit where I credit his due. He's had a good season.
Oh, man, I'm gonna stop you there, Q, before you hang yourself here on the show. Gmo says, scary-ass Josh Fryer. I asked you before we started the show, hey, have you seen the video of Josh Fryer going around? You said no. I said, oh, just wait. I have it loaded up. So I want to get your authentic reaction because I told you before the show I was confident until I saw this video. So
I'd
like to get your reaction and the chat.
I'm not a big I don't like it on national television because if you get messed up, everybody knows. The reporters, the announcers, everybody. But at the same time, you got to embrace it too. I think last year, personally, when it was a big game, I would kind of shy away from it, but now I feel more experienced and just ready to play the game, and it's a cool environment because you never get to experience anything like this ever again in your life. So
he said last year, not this year.
Bro, he said you go out there and you get messed up, bro. I swear to God, if my tackles are getting messed up, we're gonna lose.
Yeah, everyone knows about it. It'll be a quick question for you. We didn't really get to talk about it last week. We just have too much going. But that Alabama Georgia game did what? Almost 12 million. Do you expect the viewing to be somewhere around in that ballpark for this game in prime time?
I think this will be one of the most viewed games of the year. I mean, I feel like obviously the Ohio State Michigan is probably going to be the top game of the year, but I think this will definitely be a second.
Well, then I'd be nervous too, because everybody gonna know if Jordan Burch put him on the poster. We'll go home in the summer. Hey, why'd you block Burch on that play? I'm gonna have my guy Josh Fryers back. As I said, I think he's had, a solid season. I really don't remember him getting beat once where I was like, all right, that doesn't look good. But for the most part, he's been chilling. Obviously, with Johnny Simmons on the other side. So Josh Simmons. So I think our tackles are up to the challenge. They've been really good on pass pro. They've been good at run blocking. They've been moving bodies. So I'm confident in our offensive line. As much as we've worried about them going into the season, I don't think this Oregon team is something they're not going to be able to handle. And we saw how Oregon handled Ohio State when they came in a couple of years ago. So I expect the payback to come from this offensive line this time.
Absolutely. You make a great point that a lot of these 21 guys were there for that loss. So they remember. Got to get to some super chats. Shout out to our guy 50. This is going to be a successful hate watch. Go Canes. Our guy 50 from the Category 6 podcast. Appreciate the two. 50 knows all about my hate watches for Miami. I jump in the spaces. I jump in the group chats and let them know every weekend that Miami ruins my hate watch. I think that Miami's going to lose, and then they don't, and now they're on the bye, so I don't even really have a good hate watch. Let me know in the chat what your guys' hate watch candidates are for this weekend. I mean, the Buckeyes play later in the day, so you guys will have plenty of ball to watch. So let me know what games you guys will be hate watching. And then in the chat, shout out to Posh, been a member for a month. We added the new Buckeye roast emojis to the chat for the members. We also added our member badges last night. Going to keep working on some more emojis. So yeah, if you want to support, go ahead and become a member. Have some exclusive emojis. Can't see them on computer, but I'm sure they look awesome on mobile right now. So shout out to Posh for being a member, and yeah, shout out to 50 for the super chat.
I want to buy. Cam Ward still might throw a pick this weekend, so we'll see if it holds tight.
We talked about familiar names on the freshman All-American list, a name that you are also familiar with, Matayo Uiagalelei. Another target by the Buckeyes, a recruiting battle that went down to the end, a starting defensive end for this Oregon team. Now the Buckeyes have to see one of the recruits that they end up missing. 3.5 sacks on the year. Are you confident that the Buckeyes, they have Jordan Burch and Matayo Uiagalelei to handle? Josh Simmons and Josh Fryer are going to have huge games this week. Are you confident enough in these guys to be able to do it?
Yeah, I'm both confident. I mean, I think these are really good players on the other side, and I think it's a time to see. We talked about it all offseason. We criticized Justin Frye. He comes into the season, we're like, offensive line looks amazing. Well, we haven't really been challenged by athletes on the edge, so this is the one key that they have to answer. But I don't feel like I'm going in like, oh shoot, we got Jordan Burch on Saturday. He's about to be running wild. I think this is going to be a good matchup. Could they get beat at points? Sure, but it's a big time game, and I know Josh Fryer didn't give us confident rolling into a big time game. But I think it's Saturday. Strap the helmet on. They get to put hands on these guys, get adjusted into the game. It's going to be a really good battle and a fun battle to watch. So I'm confident in the guys we have, and like I said, if Josh Simmons is truly a first rounder, which we all believe he has played like, we're about to see it.
Our guy Goj tells us on the regular that there's people on the team that see this show and hear what we say. And I feel like that was confirmed during one off-season interview where the tackles were talking about, they said, oh, they think we're dumb and we can't ever stay on sides and we're always missing the snap count. No. I don't think anyone's dumb. I think people can't hear. And I think that's going to be a big factor in this game against Oregon. We've seen Buckeye tackles in years past, Josh Simmons, DeJuan Jones, in tough environments. Those tackles are a little bit further out on the edge, and they have trouble getting the signals and hearing.
About that.
Do you worry about the noise in Autzen Stadium being too much for this Buckeye offense and potentially disrupting the Buckeyes? Because one of the things we talk about with this run game is it's so important to keep this Buckeye offense on schedule, and we've done a good job avoiding the pre-snap penalties. Are you worried that pre-snap penalties may make a return for the Buckeyes and cause havoc for the tackles this weekend?
Yeah, I can see one. If you said Josh Simmons at a 1.5 over under, I'll probably take the under. I can see him jumping one time. It is the first really big road game for this team. It's going to be loud. It's going to be crazy. I expect maybe a mistake we haven't seen in the first few weeks. But again, these guys will get in. They'll get adjusted by a quarter in. So I could definitely see a guy jumping, having a false start. Maybe some can't hear. Will Howard got to speak up a little bit. But I think we'll adjust in nicely. Like I said, this team's talented. They can overcome a mistake or two. The thing they can't do is turn the ball over.
Hear me out. We switched to signals and we put the helmet comms in our tackles headsets.
Yeah,
like
you get the signal this
everybody else on signals, the tackles will put the comms in their head.
I'll tell you when to go.
All right, you got Chip Kelly up on the headset doing the exact same call as Will Howard. Say
I see why your Twitter coach, record
Hall of
is
Fame
so
Twitter
good.
coach, and you brought it up. I appreciate you bringing up the big win. My dynasty team got a big win over my guy Luke. We beat Missouri in the Best Damn Media Xbox Dynasty. So your boy is up to the 16th ranked team. Not too bad for a Hall of Fame Twitter coach. But shout out to our guy Dog. We're fucking whooping ass in that league. He has Arkansas and is winning. So if you guys are interested in gaming with us, make sure you join our Discord. The link is in the bio of my Twitter and also of this video. So if you're into gaming, make sure that you jump into our Discord. A couple things of housekeeping, and we have a special guest to bring up here before we get to our next key to victory. As far as housekeeping, I completely forgot. Like the video, make sure that you retweet if you're watching on Twitter. And yeah, we got our guy Mike here. Our guy Cleveland Mike of the Fans Edge. Him and Terry were live last night right here on the channel for the Fans Edge, talking about a big week in college football last week and another big week coming up. We had our guy Terry on the show yesterday. And then after you check that out, make sure that you check out me and Chris Drew in the Bleacher Report app for our official game preview for Ohio State, Oregon. Black man, how you doing?
Black man, how we living, man? I'm doing good. Just dropped my daughter off, man. Hey, ready to go ahead. We close, man. What, it's Thursday already? This week been flying by.
It's just been flying by. It feels like the game is right around the corner. Mike, we said the 4 keys to this game: protect the ball, run the ball, trenches, and touchdowns in the red zone. We are going to jump right into running the ball. Simply put, I think whoever rushes for more yards in this game wins the game. I want you in the chat to let me know if you agree with that statement.
Yeah,
Hello?
I mean, I hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that statement. And to be honest, man, I was talking to one of our guys at Category 6, big homie, and he said, hey, go back and look at all your games that you've lost. He said, you haven't rushed for 100 yards. And I went back, I actually looked, and we did not rush for 100 yards. And honestly, normally, I mean, the Team Up North game, same thing. Whoever is winning that rushing game battle ends up winning that game. And then another example, Bama, they only rushed for 84 yards against Vandy. So I think you guys are spot on, man. If you win in the rushing game in this game, I think you'll go ahead and win this game. I think it's going to be huge for our running backs, huge for this team.
The tale is as old as time. Mike, I want to ask you, obviously, Quinshon Judkins is on the team now. This is his first big-time game. You talk about running the ball. We've seen how physical he runs. I mean, against Iowa, I was like, man, this is a dude right here. This is the last dude I want to see run through the 2 gap, and I got to be a linebacker coming up to tackle him because he's pushing linemen off of him. What do you expect from him on Saturday?
I'm expecting a big game. The Oregon fans wanted to call him Muckins, and I think that they're going to have to eat their words. That guy is physical. That stiff hand is nasty. And you've seen these running backs embody Coach Locke. And, Judkins was talking about when Coach Locke first walked in, or Trey was talking about it when he first walked in. He said, I'm a dog. And I think that we're going to see that Coach Locke persona and everything out there on the field, the nasty stiff arms where we just keep watching Judkins bouncing guys' heads off the turf like it's a basketball. I'm expecting a real physical game for Quinshawn, and I don't think that those guys want to see him. We seen, it looked like he was going to be stopped short for the first down. Boom, he spins around, make sure that he gets that first down. So even his awareness in this game, I think is going to be a huge factor. And you heard the commentators last week calling those two smash and dash, and definitely Quinshawn Judkins is smash.
Man, I don't like naming our running backs after a petty crime. Like, can we come up? I'm back. I'm going back to Thunder and Lightning. Oh man, we're coming out on the field. Ohio State's great running back duo breaking and entering. Like, what are we doing?
Not breaking and entering.
It's only a petty crime depending on what you take. You'll know they made
It's
out.
only a crime if you get caught.
Oh, who's gonna stop the running back duo Grand Theft Auto? Like, what are we doing? But no, when you look at the running stats, Jordan James for the Ducks has 6.3 yards per carry. Q and Trey are both right around 8. I believe one of them is at 7.8, the other one at 8. If Oregon is able to stop the run in successful, if Oregon is able to stop the run, are you worried about the Buckeyes becoming one-dimensional or being forced to pass?
Mike, you start.
Am I worried? I would say the only thing that gets me worried with if they were forced to pass is those Will Howard what the F moments, right? That's about it. But I think that we have the guys on the outside. Oh, you want to go ahead and play man on JJ or Emeka? I mean, hey, let me just throw a jump ball to Cardinal. What are you going to do? And we've heard about how short their DBs are and things like that. Yeah, I wouldn't be worried. I'm throwing jump balls to them guys all day long. Like, why not?
All right, I'm not as tall as everyone else on this podcast, so I'm not going to call these fellas short, but they're also not tall kings, okay? 5'10", not tall, but we're not going to call them short, okay?
Being only 5'6", I back that up.
Fuck you, Q. Oh, man. Our next key to victory that I wanted to talk about was protecting the football. We saw Will Howard throw an interception last week. We saw Jeremiah have an uncharacteristic fumble. Dylan Gabriel the past week threw 2 red zone interceptions. How important is this turnover battle going to be? Our guy Punk said in the chat, this game is going to be won with turnovers and trenches. I feel like one turnover could decide this game.
I would say on art, and if we lead the turnover battle, I feel like as long as we don't go 2+ on turnovers, I feel like this team is talented enough to overcome one. I just feel like we can't have a Will Howard what the F throw and a Jeremiah Smith fumble. Like, this is not the game for that. I don't expect the running backs to fumble because we haven't really talked about Coach Locke much, but this is a Coach Locke legacy game. He going back home. They called him soft when he left, so I expect these running backs to play out their mind for him. But I think we can overcome one. You start to get 2 or 3 on the road, like, yeah, you might be in trouble. But am I off on that, or y'all think that as well?
No, I think that you're spot on. You definitely can't have, multiple turnovers. I think that that's something that they're definitely going to work on is ball security. But here's the thing, Jeremiah turns the ball over. Defense does not flinch. Will Howard turns the ball over. Defense does not flinch. I heard or saw ESPN was wanting to say that Ohio State came out sluggish against Iowa. It's like, okay, if you want to talk about the offense because they turned the ball over, say that. But can you really say that defense came out sluggish when they were forcing multiple turnovers and getting stops and not letting that team in, score points until they were able to against our backups on defense? So, I mean, I think that we have the defense to be able to, stop that. And then also, like, when Will Howard and JJ, like, look at what they did after their turnovers, man. Those guys also didn't flinch, ended up turning it on. And Will Howard finished the game with 4 incompletions. Ron would say 3 because one of them went to the other team, but
if the other team catches it, it's not an incompletion. Not in my personal record book.
But yeah, I mean, I like how our team didn't flinch, and to be honest, I think that it has prepared these guys for this game, and it's something that they have worked on. So,
quick question, Mike. You talk about Dillon Gabriel. He said he's had a couple turnovers. Obviously, the defense and especially the secondary has been good at locking guys down, has been good at creating turnovers. Lathan Ransom is a guy I would run away from no matter where I am and get the ball. I'm finding 8 and I'm going the other way. Do you think the secondary can come up with a turnover or 2, an interception, or maybe a fumble? These guys have been really good at this season. Do you think they can get one for us?
Oh, I definitely think that the secondary is going to get a turnover, whether it be an interception or a fumble. We heard how elite Lathan Ransom is at that peanut punch, knocking the ball out. So like you were saying, that's a guy I definitely don't want to be tackled by, because if you are, you better be holding that ball with 2 hands, keeping it high and tight, everything like that, man. Lathan Ransom is definitely going to be a factor in this game. Now, I do want to talk to you guys about something, because you're talking about Dillon Gabriel, him being a left-handed quarterback. And on film, we have not watched him really turn to the right. Even when Evan Stewart was wide open, he did not throw the ball to him, right? Now, he's going to be looking on his left side. He's a shorter quarterback as well. I was talking to some Oregon guys last night. I was on the Voice of College Football Oregon channel. Y'all can check that out. But he's a short guy, and he's going on JTT's side. Now, the only thing that I think is going to save Dillon Gabriel is that quick release, but we know how JTT is with timing those throws up, getting his hands up. I wanted to ask you guys, do you think JTT could have one of those Penn State games and catch an interception or force one?
I would love to see it, but I mean, Autzen Stadium's really far from Happy Valley, where JTT really turns up. I don't know if his powers extend that far across the country, but I mean, he is from that area of the country, so maybe he, you know what I mean? He's able to tap in to the number 1 prospect in the country type of talent that he had in high school, and we see that type of game out of him. I would love to see JTT narrative go from he shows up only against Penn State to he shows up in every big game, and I would love to see that out of JTT. I think he's more than capable. Our guy Sean in the chat said they need to keep pressure on Dillon Gabriel and hit him, make him uncomfortable. One thing that I've heard reiterated over and over and over again about this game is Oregon's going to want to have long, sustained drives, and the Buckeyes are, 1, going to have to stop the run after the catch on these short throws, and 2, find a way to knock them off the rhythm, not let them get comfortable, not let them run their offense like they're running off a script the entire game. And I think JTT will be a huge part of that. And if they are able to cause that disruption, I think JTT is going to be one of the biggest factors.
Yeah, I think JTT is probably the only guy on this team where I was like, man, you committed to the wrong place. If you had gone to Penn State, you'd have been the greatest defensive player of all time, because you seem to just show up there and turn up. But I think this is the most maybe West we've played since JTT's been up at Ohio State. I don't think he's really played in the West Coast since. So maybe he'll look at this as like, oh, this is a home game. This is me returning kind of back to my area, and we'll get him some context where the other team looks white and blue, and we can turn up from there. I do expect them to have a big time game. I thought last year they left a little to be desired in the Notre Dame game, and that was a big-time road game we had early in the season. Obviously, a lot of criticism on rushing the passer, but we've seen it extend through just the first game of the season. Okay, last week, these guys still getting sacks, are still getting pressures. So I think him and Jack have a lot to prove coming into this game, and I think this can be, I don't know if it's going to be a Penn State-level game, but if JT walks out of here with maybe a sack and a half, knocks down a couple balls, makes some big-time plays, I think he'll continue to change the meter on what kind of player he is in game in and game out.
I want to get to our last key to victory for both of these teams, and it is scoring touchdowns in the red zone. I mean, any Buckeye fan knows if they can think back to any haunting loss that we've had in the last 4 years. You could probably think of at least one memorable 4th and short where we either didn't get it, a red zone trip where we weren't able to punch it in, a missed field goal, a field goal when we should have went for it, some sort of scenario where it felt like the Buckeyes needed 7 instead of 3 and or a turnover on downs. You saw Dillon Gabriel have struggles in the red zone last week against Michigan State. Will Howard has completely elevated the Ohio State red zone offense. The Buckeyes have scored 20 touchdowns out of 21 trips to the red zone. They are perfect 100% on scoring in the red zone, with a field goal on that one other trip where the Buckeyes weren't able to get it done in the red zone. Which one of these two quarterbacks do you trust more in the red zone and feel are going to be a bigger threat on Saturday, Dillon Gabriel or Will Howard?
Oh, I'm definitely going with, I think Will Howard's going to be the biggest threat. When you look at Oregon and what they've been doing in the red zone, it is not pretty at all. But Ohio State, I believe, is the number 1, top 3 in the country in red zone efficiency. And you're talking about Oregon being down there. And we've seen this Ohio State team has the confidence where they feel they can get stops on 4th and short. Now, Ryan, I know we're talking about the quarterbacks and talking about the team, but let's talk about Dan Lanning in red zone, and let's talk about how he likes to go for it on 4th and short in big games, and how it, instead of kicking field goals, and how it has hurt them in big games. Talking about Washington last year in both those games. So does Dan Lanning correct his mistakes and kick those field goals, or does he end up being like Ohio State in 2019, where he does end up settling for those field goals and not scoring touchdown hurts him later on in the game? I think that's a fine line that Dan Lanning's going to have to flirt with in this game. And I am looking, I've been thinking about it, and I'm looking out for that as well.
Yeah, I think the quarterback I'd say I trust the most is Chip Kelly. He's clearly came in here. He said, "Yeah, y'all used to struggle in the red zone. That was a Ryan Day problem. I'm gonna get it done," and it's been the most efficient in the country. So yeah, most definitely this Ohio State offense. I mean, even when Devin Brown came in, it still found a way to get a touchdown. So I think Chip Kelly has handled this. I think he's mixed things up. I think he's used game plan. I mean, we've seen things inside the red zone that we really haven't seen. We've seen reverses. We've seen the running backs flare out, just get a few yards like his. We've seen misdirection runs, wide receivers knocking heads, going the other way. So we've kind of seen it all in the red zone, which makes it seem highly unpredictable of what they're going to do. Kind of stayed away from Tennessee. So I think this team's extremely dangerous in the red zone. I expect them to continue that in Oxon this weekend.
Absolutely. Those are our 4 keys to victory. We have a little bit of housekeeping we want to get to before we get out of here. There are 400 people watching live right now. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button. 400 people in here. I'm sure there's at least 100 or so on YouTube. Let's get to 50 likes before we wrap up that show. It's a huge help, and it costs you guys absolutely nothing. If you're new around here, make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're watching on Twitter, make sure you drop a follow. Make sure you're in the Ohio State community. We are live 5 days a week at 10-ish a.m. 8 a.m. We are here. The show is at least up around 8 a.m. Q, not so much for me.
5:10, that's the magic number. That's what you told me.
Yeah, but absolutely. Yeah, 5:10, the magic number. So we appreciate everybody in here. Make sure you smash that like button. It really does help us a ton. You'll be able to find us all over talking about this game. We have our guy Project Pat on tomorrow to talk about this game's by the numbers a little bit. We have the Best Damn College pregame show Saturday morning on the Menace Sports platform, me and Chris Drew. I will be dropping the hype video that you guys saw at the beginning of the episode later today on the timeline. So if you see that, make sure you drop a retweet on that and get that thing booming. And yeah, if you haven't checked out the Fans Edge last night or our Bleacher Report appearance, make sure you check those out. Before we get out of here, I did want to touch on a comment that I saw on the chat. A lot of people bringing up special teams. I was watching film in the Discord with our guy Terry and our guy Cam, and they both said, "Oh, this right here worries me." And I was on the game. I didn't even know what they were looking at. I pulled my phone out to see what they were streaming, and it was Tez Johnson on punt return. And let me tell you, that guy eats upfield fast, like moves. It is going to be imperative. I got to find the chat and give someone a shout out for whoever said it. Here we go. Our guy Goj, of course. Special teams coverage. Can't give Oregon half fields to start drives. It is going to be imperative for this Buckeye team to tackle on special teams. Are you guys nervous about the Buckeyes kick coverage or special teams in general? Because it's not just limited to stopping Tez Johnson. We got to make field goals. We got to kick the damn kickoff in bounds. A lot of things where special teams can make an impact in a game where the margins are so small. How big of a factor do you expect special teams to be in this game?
Well, special teams helped Oregon win one of their games, man, when their offense really wasn't doing much. Their special teams helped. Now, I think that our punt coverage is pretty good. I would say that. Now, I'll say on punt return, I think that, I saw in the chat, hey, will you guys get a punt return for a tutty? I think the only reason Ohio State hasn't is because we don't do a good job blocking on punt return. But punt coverage, we seeing our gunners are getting down there quick. We're seeing the hang time on the ball. As long as our guys can tackle, I'll be fine. As long as he ain't out there breaking 1, 2, 3 tackles, left and right, we should be good.
I mean, yeah, I think we've left some mistakes out there on special teams in the first few weeks, so it definitely can't say it's not a concern at all. And like Mike said, we talked about earlier in the week that Oregon was in trouble because Boise State was like, yeah, we'll just throw a punt and a kick return in there, and we'll be fine. So it definitely can happen. I think again, this is another test for our new special teams coaching staff of they can get off on special teams. So can you limit the mistakes? Can you knock the ball out of bounds? Can you just get a touchback and play good defense? Because I feel like if our defense lines up and they got to drive the field, I will take that all day. So just limiting mistakes, but we will see on Saturday. Another thing we have an answer to in a big game is how special teams will perform, and can it be a plus for us?
Punk with the stat of the day, 7,843 days and counting since the last special teams touchdown for OSU. It hasn't been that long, but close.
Definitely been a long time, for sure.
I think we're closer around 2,000, but that's far too long.
7,000 is crazy. You haven't seen it since the Tressel got there.
No, I believe our last punt return was in 2014. Our last kick return was in 2010. So our last kick return touchdown is about I think we probably have a more recent punt block return for a touchdown than we do an actual punt return for a touchdown. So, but we appreciate everyone joining in. The chat was absolutely booming this morning. Tons of people watching, almost up to 450 people watching. If you're watching on YouTube, again, make sure you smash that like button. If you're on Twitter and you see this at any point today, or if you're watching on Twitter, make sure you retweet the video. Retweeting the live stream on Twitter helps so much in the algorithm. It gets picked up and pushed to so many more people. So if you're able to throw a retweet on that when you see it, we appreciate that's all I have for today's show. We got another big show tomorrow with our guy Pat from Menace to Sports talking about Ohio State, Oregon by the number. So make sure that you tune in tomorrow. Fellas, let the people know where they can find you. Or Q, do you have something for us?
Yeah, let me chime in here real quick. This is the last time I'll see Mike on the mic before he gets out of here. So I want to know your script for Saturday coming in. What do you expect to happen? Do you expect a slow start? Do you expect a fast start? A close game? Give me a score prediction. Give me what you expect to see on Saturday.
Oh man, put me on the spot. I like it. What I'm expecting to see is one thing that I liked about last week that Chip Kelly did, the opening script. I had nothing for it. I'm hoping to see that again. Go down the field, march in there, and also get the running backs going. Get Will Howard. I think that we're going to see Will Howard using his legs. I felt like Chip Kelly was ramping that up last week to get Will Howard ready to run. So I'm expecting that. And then here's the thing. I could see this game going 35-14, especially if the Buckeyes go in there, take care of business, and get the crowd out of the way, right? But then I could also see this game being like a, let's say, like 28-21 or 28-24 type game too, So
there you have it.
You heard it here from our guy, Mike, if they want to hear more from you, where would they do that?
Well, man, I mean, it's going to be a long night for me. You know, Ohio State's playing a primetime game, but right after the game, you can catch me on the Voice of College Football Ohio State channel. You can also check that out from last night on that channel. I did a little interviewing with some Oregon people. Check that out. And what's that? Sunday, catch me, Ron, Cam on Buckeye BS, the flagship show. And every Wednesday, you can definitely catch me on the Fans Edge at 7:30 Eastern. And then I'm here every Thursday morning with my guys, Ryan and Q, man.
Q, let the people know where they can find you. Where are you watching the game on Saturday? Busty Blondes?
I've been debating that. I've gone to Bottle Blonde the last couple of weeks, but I know that place is going to be packed and absolutely insane. And probably usually they reserve seats there. They might be reserving floor squares there. I'm like, oh, you can't stand there. Too far to the left. Get back in your spot. So I'm debating. I might just find another bar to go to and cuss out the TV like I normally do on Saturdays when it's a close game. So I'll be somewhere in Scottsdale more than likely. But on the day-to-day, if you want to find me, I will be here with my guy Ron, Cityboy Quentin on Twitter. Find it Johnson, both Instagram and TikTok. And Minor League Films, you're in the movies. I watched Salem's Lot last night, so I got to review it today. A nice little horror flick because it's that time of the season. So hopefully it's a horror movie for Oregon fans on Saturday. Shout out to my guy Key.
It's officially spooky season. Are you guys doing all Halloween-themed stuff over at Minor League Films this month?
We're doing a horror movie a day. So did Speak No Evil yesterday. I have Salem's Lot today, and we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Uh-oh.
Sounds good. Hopefully the Buckeyes don't put on a scary movie on Saturday.
Look at you, Ryan.
Oh, man. If you guys want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at 2Ts. It's 2_TEES. If you haven't already, make sure you check out the Bleacher Report appearance with my guy, Chris Drew, yesterday. Again, we are here Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. For the Buckeye Roast here with my guy, Q, Saturday mornings on the Menace of Sports platform for the best damn college football pregame show. And, of course, Saturdays for Buckeye BS with my guy. It's actually probably just going to be me and Mike. Cam is on his way to Oregon. He's actually pulling up today because he's flying out of Pittsburgh. So shout out to Cam. And yeah, so check us out on Sunday. Check us out on the timeline. Keep an eye out for the hype video dropping this morning at 10 a.m. If you see it on the timeline, make sure you retweet it. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. 450 people watching today. You guys are amazing. I hope everyone has a great day. And you know how this ends. Go Bucks and OH.
I-O.
I'm my own time.